So hi, my name's Gary Daniels. I play the character of Kenshiro in this movie Fist of the North Star that you're about to watch. And we're going to do the audio commentary.
And my name's Ross Boyask. And Gary Daniels has kidnapped me and is going to make me watch this movie all the way through again.
Serious punishment.
That's the one. So how did you first get involved with the production?
Actually, I had signed a deal with Overseas Film Group to do a series of pictures based on a character I'd created called Union Jack. We actually signed a 3-picture deal. But before the movies were begun, after we actually had the script, Robbie Little, the executive producer at Overseas Film Group at that time, called me and asked me if I'd heard of Fist of the North Star, and I said yeah, I'd seen the animated movie, which I really liked. And he said, we have some Japanese producers here who want to make the live action movie and they'd like to meet you. So I went to meet them, and I was really flattered that they'd offered me the part. So I met with Aki and Robbie, and after discussion it was agreed that I would play Kenshiro in Fist of the North Star, and for me it was a great opportunity. At that time I'd done some smaller movies. I'd worked with Jackie and City Hunter, but it wasn't the lead role or a lead role. So I was very flattered, and I actually went into some research and read a bit about the creators of the comic book, and started getting hold of the comic books and reading them. And I actually found out that the creators had created the character as a cross between Bruce Lee and Mad Max. So for me, being a major Bruce Lee fan...
You're a flan. Pizza person.
No, I was very flattered and very happy to accept the part. And after talking with Tony Randel, the director, he had a great vision for the movie, and I'd watched a couple of his movies, and I could see he really had an eye, and his movies always had a good look. So it was a chance to do something which was a little step up from what I had been doing at the time.
Give a name check to Christopher Stone. Yeah. He's responsible for the epic score.
Yeah, it's a great sound. I think it has a really big sound to the picture.
It gives a good scale to it. Definitely,
and the music can make such a big difference in any movie. I mean, movies really are about sight and sound, audio and visual, right? So
yeah.
You get cheap music, it can really bring down the level of the production.
Sure, absolutely. It gives you a good feel for atmosphere and keeps you going there. Did you read the graphic novels?
Yeah, I read a whole bunch of them, in fact, and after doing the movie I started collecting a lot of the Fist of the North Star stuff.
Alright, you're a big comics fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I grew up being a big comic book fan. In England, it was mostly the Marvel comic books with Captain America and cool. Avengers, Titans, and yeah, huge fan of comic books when I was young. I actually wanted to be one when I grew up, but that's another story.
You're on your way to being a superhero.
Well, Bruce Lee was, when I first saw Bruce Lee, it was like, wow, this guy is a real-life superhero, and that's what I wanted to be like. I wanted to be like, look like Bruce Lee. I wanted to act like Bruce Lee. I wanted to fight like Bruce Lee.
Wrong hair colour, dude.
Wrong eye colour, wrong... That's why I started eating a lot of rice, and I was hoping it would all change.
Yeah. What's that? So this is the introduction to the movie and sets up the atmosphere for what the picture looks like?
It's all miniatures, I believe.
This is miniatures?
I could be wrong, but maybe I shouldn't say that. But I know there was a lot of miniatures done on this movie. I believe that's what this is. You have to remember, we did this movie 9 years ago, so I have to dig a little bit into the old brain box to remember a lot of this stuff.
9 long years.
Look at the Southern Cross. It looks like the English flag, Rule Britannia.
Patriotism, I suppose. But it just set up sort of like the look of the movie and the fact that it's not set necessarily in the real world.
Yeah, well, the whole comic book is post-apocalyptic. And obviously, trying to get... Who's that?
Whose chest is that? That's a lot of nipples you got there.
Well, there was a nickname they gave me on the set. I mean, they were actually calling me Condom Man because the the wounds when they stuck them on did look a little bit like rolled-up condoms.
Clench fist. Training. A bit of training.
You know what? Yeah, when I was... Actually, in this movie, I'm a bit bigger than what I generally am. I mean, the character of Kenshiro in the comic books, if you look, he's got an absolutely awesome physique.
Well, he's got like a waist that's like an inch wide and a chest that's like 4 feet wide.
Just like me? Oh, no. So, yeah, when I was training for this movie, I was lifting a lot heavier than I ever lifted. And normally I weigh about 185 pounds, and... No, between 180, 185, and for this movie I got up to like 193, 194, so I was dieting very hard, very strict.
A lot of smoke there as well.
Yeah, you know what? What we're seeing here at the very beginning was actually the shot after the movie was finished. I think they didn't have enough minutes for the movie, so they went back and we shot that beginning there.
So what we need is a lot of Gary in smoke with a blanket.
Yeah.
That'll sell it. Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Your dad in it.
Great. My spiritual father in the movie.
He was in Clockwork Orange, of course, and lots of other cult movies.
Actually, we didn't really have any scenes together. He had his birthday on the set, so they actually made this awesome birthday cake for him with a character of Kenshiro on it.
So it wasn't like an orange, like Clockwork Orange cake. Would have been good. And we've got Costas Mandylor here.
Yeah, Costas is a very good guy, great actor. He was actually just coming off of his TV series, Picket Fences, which had won a ton of Emmys at that time, so it was kind of cool getting him on board.
That's good.
Originally, there was another actor for the part, and his name has gone right out of my head.
Perfect.
An English actor, long blonde hair. He was Warlock. He was a character.
Julian Sands?
Julian Sands was.
He was originally
yeah.
He's in Medallion now with your old sparring partner. Yeah. That's good.
But no, I was happy to get Costas. I mean, he's a big fan of martial arts. He's from Australia and he loves kickboxing. So he was very open to the choreography and actually learning martial arts. I brought my Sifu and my Kung Fu teacher to do the choreography, and Costas became a student of his after the picture.
So did you know if he actually trained professionally before, or trained as a martial artist before the movie started?
No, I think he was a football fan. I think he played some football. But no, this was quite an introduction to him of martial arts filmmaking. These are all miniatures.
Yeah. A lot of smoke?
Yeah,
lots more smoke.
It's a smoky world. The future's going to be very smoky.
Do you think maybe it's some sort of message about pollution, or...?
No.
No. No message.
Just a look, just
no
ambience.
Message. No message at all.
No message.
No message. Violence solves everything, that's the message.
If you have any problems, get violent within an hour and a half, your life will be better. So these are the Southern Cross guys. They're Lord Shin's men.
It's even the posters are sort of like propaganda. You've got that
Very
kind of
much
impression.
So, yeah, the old German World War II propaganda. Look at these great sets.
Yeah.
All miniatures. I think it's quite an art in itself, shooting miniatures. I've seen it done before, and it's really remarkable how to do it.
It's very convincing, and again, the music, it really sets up an empire.
High in his throne room, Lord Shin gazed.
Was that his real hair?
No.
I didn't think so. What about you, man? I mean, obviously we've
What
seen
about
film.
me?
What about you? What about Gary? No, seriously, your hair in this movie, is that actually any of it yours?
90% of it is mine. They added a little extension at the back. Yeah, they actually glued them on. It was very, very uncomfortable. They glued on rows of hair. This is downtown Julie Brown.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Julie, but she's an English lass in LA, New York, in fact, that it's very popular in America for being an MTV VJ, one of the original MTV VJs.
Okay.
Lovely lady, absolutely a darling. We became pretty good friends during the show.
She plays like a rebellion leader kind of thing? Sort of like resistance fighter?
From the village.
Yeah.
This was a lovely little girl, great little actress.
She sings a lot in this movie.
Sweetheart.
Everyone ignoring her, obviously. It's nice.
She's actually blind at this point in the movie.
So, and we've got Melvin Van Peebles.
Melvin Van Peebles, yeah, another cool.
Many, many cult movies.
Father of Mario.
Absolutely. So this is what, setting up their lifestyle, the way they're living, under the iron fist, that kind of thing.
Exactly, how miserable it is. No, it's important to set up the underdogs. Kenshiro needs somebody to save. The hero needs somebody.
And these are the people you'll be fighting for.
This is Dante Basco.
That's right. He was...
He's a Filipino lad. I first saw him when he was in the movie Hook. He played the leader of the Lost Boys.
That's right. He was also in The Perfect Weapon.
That's right.
He was in The Perfect Weapon, yeah. He's
a funny kid. He's actually got 4 or 5 brothers. They're Filipino, and they have a rap band. And they awesome stuff. His brothers would come to the set and we'd sit in the trailer and they'd be doing their rap stuff for me. And Dante is such a funny kid. I mean, he's really got down this hip-hop rap attitude. It's like when you're talking to him, he can't stop moving his hands, you know, he's giving it all this hip-hop action. And We actually said to him one day, Dante, can you actually talk without moving your hands?
He seems to have a lot of energy and charisma. It seems quite natural.
Yeah, great for the part. I'm really glad they brought him in fact.
Well, the bad guys.
Here we go.
What are they riding? It's like motorbikes with umbrellas on them. Clint Howard.
Clint, classic.
In every movie ever made, ever.
This is actually Ron Howard's brother.
Yeah.
So I worked with Clint, and then I actually worked with Ron Howard's mother. She was in
Really?
Spoiler.
Oh, right, yeah.
She was the old lady playing my daughter at the end in
wow.
Spoiler.
Whole Howard family. He always plays crazies and mad guys.
You might recognise this gentleman here from Bloodsport. He played a Thai boxer in Bloodsport.
Paolo Torcha.
Paolo Torta, yeah, another good guy. He's got a very interesting life, interesting past. In fact, his part was smaller originally, but the director liked him so much and what he was doing with the character that he expanded it and made it much bigger.
We got Chris Penn here.
A classic.
Yep. Mr. Reservoir Dogs and Footloose, which a lot of people forget.
Probably Chris would wanted to forget.
He certainly changed in shape.
I think Chris did a great job in this movie. He's really made for playing a bad guy, and he did a great job in this movie.
He has some good lines like, "It isn't easy being sleazy."
You thought that a good line, huh?
I thought it was a great, great line.
I used to see Chris a lot. I used to train at the Jet Center in Van Nuys, Benny Akida's gym, and Chris is good friends with Don Wilson, and they'd be there.
He's done some movies with Dom. Future Kick and a few other things.
Oh, really? Yeah. You're probably more familiar with that than I am. But, he's a pretty good boxer, Chris. He trains as a boxer.
Cool.
This was a little different for him because we added some martial arts, so he learned something. Here we go. Acid Rain.
It really is depressing, Matt.
Yeah,
You've got to come and bring some light into this movie. It's like a grim existence. I mean,
that's a great effect. I think it looks great.
it is nice. There's a lot of use of slow-mo in this movie.
The wasteland.
Poignant
An
times.
endless
Yes.
expanse of baked
I think if it's overused, which I think it is in a lot of movies nowadays, it can be OTT, but if it's done right.
Yeah, used for effect.
dwellings.
Here
are
we go,
there.
Kenshiro's first scene. What is Kenshiro thinking? As an actor, this is what's going through your head. Lots of questions.
Blankets.
What is this character thinking? You approach a house in the wasteland. Who's in there? How many people are in there? What kind of reception am I going to get? This is kind of the inner monologue going on.
Why is there no
as an
doorbell?
actor.
How do you prepare for something like this? I mean, you're playing like a fictional character, obviously. I mean, obviously all characters in movies are fictional, but it's based on a comic book. Did you draw a lot from how the comic book was written?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I try to, you try to look at what Kenshiro's been through in his past. You want to give your character a past. You look what he's been through, and you look what's expected of him. You look at the comic books, you see how it's played there, and then obviously you got to bring something of yourself to the character also. I know. It's funny that when I look back, like, this is 9 years ago, I hope I'm a much better actor now than I was then.
Don't you dig your performance at all?
Not at all.
You're your own worst critic, man.
Yeah, well, you have to be. I think if ever you get to that point where you say I'm good enough, then you're going to start going downhill, right? But
Always learning.
no, for me, every time I look at one of my movies, it's got to do better than that, got to do better than that. There's probably a lot of people out there that agree with me.
That's a learning curve, I guess. I mean, you've got, just before we just saw Tracy Walter, who's, again, character. He was Bob the Goon in Batman.
Yeah, I mean, tons of movies. It's funny, I wasn't too familiar with him. I'd known him from a couple of things, but then once you work with somebody, all of a sudden you start noticing them in all these movies.
See, yeah.
And so, if you look at the cast in this movie, there's tons of experience in this movie, and the producers did a great job bringing it all together.
So there's a nightmare scene.
I like this shot here, with the eyes.
Yep.
This is a very cool shot. Isako, what a beautiful, beautiful lady she was. I mean, physically and her personality, absolutely wonderful lady. It was tough for her, really, I think, coming over to America. Very, very different than what she was used to working with in Japan.
Was this her first American movie?
I believe so.
Okay. So clearly that was a sequence flashing back to your character's past.
We don't want, we take.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
I'm sorry I wasn't watching. Yeah.
Oh, no, this guy.
Yeah, he's great.
I can't remember.
He used to
his
be
name.
a wrestler.
He's in lots of movies.
Niels Stewart.
Oh, Niels Allen Stewart.
Yeah, I've actually worked with him on several movies. He was in The Mask. He's done a lot of big movies, Niels.
Yeah.
He deserves it. He's a good guy.
Somehow always cast as a villain.
Oh, I wonder why.
I wonder why.
What should I do? Kenshiro's having thoughts here. He doesn't really want to get involved. He just wants to go ahead and find Julia, but his character won't allow him to see abuse. So, Kick him in the teeth.
That's a lovely effect, man. That's very comic book as well, very cartoon.
Yeah, and that's how
Very
it should
from the
have been.
anime. Yeah, very from the anime.
My own opinion, the fights could have been shot different. If I'd been able to direct the fights myself, they would have been shot a little different.
There's a lot very close in.
Which is, not my style.
I think sometimes it sells, but for the range of moves, it's not always appropriate. Oh, here we go. Pat, 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 pat.
Yeah, what's he doing? In the comic books, Kenshiro hits a lot of pressure points on the body. We wasn't sure how it was going to translate if we tried to do it just like the comic book, so they wanted something a little bit more visual. So we were hoping this worked. Some people will agree, some people won't.
It's strange. It comes across as a cross between a martial arts movie and Scanners. That kind of, you've just dusted up a guy's body and suddenly his head's about to go a little bit messy.
Well, if you are familiar with the comic books, Kenshiro does manipulate people, their bodies, and how their bodies function by using the pressure points, and that's what we were going for here.
Strange that you didn't see the actual head go. Do you think that was cut? Did they ever do the effects for things like that?
Yeah, and I think later in the movie you see it, but I know some of the distributors in certain territories did have a hard time with the blood and the gore.
It's quite extreme in places. It's extreme in
But
places.
if it's really hard when you're trying to translate a comic book onto real screen, which I'm sure many movie makers have found out. You do want to be true to the comic books, but then how can you... It's very hard to bring an actual comic book to life. I think that's the toughest job for a director on any project like this. We took a lot of elements from the comic book, but then they added some stuff to themselves that they made up and tried to find a combination.
Well, they need to make it accessible to people who haven't seen the source material. They need to make it...
Exactly. And if you look at this movie is kind of a combination of the animated movie that's taken parts from the comic book, and then there's stuff that they've just made up themselves. It is very hard to... you've got to satisfy the audience that are fans of the comic book, and like you say, the audience members that are not familiar with the comic book. You've got to try and make it a movie that'll stand out on its own.
Sure. And it's strange because it is, like you say, a live action adaptation of something that was previously only seen in an animated form and a literary form.
And it's a very fantastical comic and animated form. So, with the limited budget and technology we had at that time, we did the best we can.
Costas got great charisma here. He's the villain. He's in charge. This
guy is Dave Fralick. We call him Sharp. Dave Sharp. He's a very talented actor, and he's a wonderful guy, and you'll see him in a lot more movies. I've worked with him several times. I actually brought him in for a movie I did called Ides of March.
Oh, yes.
Brought him into it.
Yeah.
He is the zaniest character. He'll show up on the set each different day wearing different colour wigs, and he'll have these glasses with goony eyes in them and fake teeth. This guy's born to act.
He's got a good physique as well.
Yeah, he does. He stays in shape,
Yeah.
He's not a martial artist, which I think any martial artist will see in this scene when he fights. But he does his best,
This is where Costas really starts showing, I guess, his abilities, at least as a villain.
Setting him up.
Physically, yeah.
Setting up the main bad guy, the nemesis.
I like the rings. He's got those rings in his hands. It's a nice little touch.
I'm from the North Star, and his is the Southern Cross style of martial arts, so that you need to be able to see a difference between the two styles which separate the two characters. See, this is where I think it works using the tighter angles and the tighter shots. When you've got somebody who has some ability but is not really a trained martial artist.
Yeah, it makes it look sharp.
And you can make it, and it's intense, and you get more a sense of the drama by shooting it tighter like this.
There's some good sound effects here as well. Good use of sound.
Once again, it's important. It's audio-visual. It's funny, my Sifu choreographed this movie, and when I see the fights, I just recognise so many of the techniques. I can remember over the years him doing them to me and hurting me.
Bringing back the pain.
Never did this one.
The set design as well.
Yeah.
You've got to put us out of the sets. Just
this was
here we go.
an old hotel, I believe.
Well, if you're going to bleed, bleed in a place with style.
I know, he did a good job there, Shark, with his reaction, I thought.
Yeah, it's good.
It's not every day your body explodes or implodes. There's Julia.
And again, this propaganda-style imagery. And
Well, for Tony, this movie was a love theme. It was a love triangle.
I mean, look at a scene like this.
It was
You've
between...
got this set up.
Yeah, Julia,
Isolation.
Shin, and Kenshiro.
It is beautifully shot, man. I mean, this sort of scene...
Thank you.
Yeah, I knew you were responsible for the cinematography as well as everything else. I thought I'd just better put that out there.
She is such a classic beauty. I mean, everything about her. She's a classic beauty. these seeds that she had, in fact, the very, very first day, these seeds are the most important thing to her in her life. She's lost Kenshiro at this point, and these seeds are the most important thing. And actually, the very first day I met Isako, we went to lunch, dinner with the producers, I actually brought these seeds with me because I wanted it to be something in her mind that...
It's personal.
Yeah, and so I actually gave them to her after the lunch. As this is from me, this is from Kenshiro.
And that's the best thing you could give her after a lunch.
A bunch of old seeds.
Handful of seeds. Genius. Other people would be chocolates and flowers there. I'd like to give you some seeds. Thanks, Gary. So here we go back to the sort of desolate wasteland.
The village.
Yeah.
The village of woe.
Oh, it's lightning occasionally, breaks up the grimness, you know.
I hate the acting in this scene.
What they're acting as well?
No, mine, just mine.
See, not only does it smoke, it gets rain, it gets lightning. There's variety. It's like EastEnders. Yeah. Again, the music, though.
Again, the music.
The music it's just evocative in this movie, and it brings home the atmosphere.
It's so important.
You're blind?
Once again, Kenshiro uses techniques of
Observation.
pressure points to heal. It's like the power of the chi. It can be used to heal, or it can be used to destroy. And so we've seen him using it in his fight scenes, and now he's going to use it for good. As in everything, there must be balance.
It's nice to see a bit of medical realism, sort of
Totally. I researched a lot of medical paperwork and books for this.
Transformation. So it's like Dr. Daniels is in the house.
Oh yes,
healing
Dr.
the blind.
Kenshiro. The acid rain.
That must have been comfortable for you.
This whole thing with this village, everything was shot in these 2 sound stages in LA, and the director wanted us to really get the feel of this futuristic wasteland, so we never put the air conditioning on. So these sound stages were to get up to like 120 degrees, so the cast and the crew were really suffering. We suffer for our art.
Did you have maybe like a deal with deodorant suppliers or something? Antiperspirant.
The wardrobe I'm wearing, there was no doubles for it. That is the only wardrobe, and I don't think it was washed once over the 6 weeks of shooting. So
do you have that? Because I know someone who'd actually like to wear that stuff.
No, I don't. But that outfit was walking by itself by the end of the movie with all the blood and the sweat and everything. It was absolutely disgusting.
Challenging you to a fight afterwards, fight your own costume.
Just take care of it.
Great lighting.
Yeah, Chris has never looked prettier there as well, I think.
I like the flashback scene when you see that Chris, there's a scene where he's looking in the mirror and he gets a little flashbacks later in the movie. It's a great scene.
Yeah. So essentially, he's got these straps on his head, hasn't he? Which we'll find out later on why he's got his head in straps.
And what you see I did to the guy at the beginning to Neo is it kind of sets that up. Yeah, Shin is absolutely obsessed with Julia.
It's a bit crazy watching this movie. It's amazing how you could look at women in this movie. There's only one example of a woman. The guy
don't
makes
tell Julie Brown that.
Dang, I'm going to get my ass kicked. But it's like Shin sets up the Empire sort of because of her. Kenshiro goes through a lot of stuff for her.
Every king needs a queen.
Yeah.
You can't see the future.
With a madman's vision.
There's a lot of them out there.
I'm trapped in the past.
Just out of curiosity, how Isako English? If this was her first American movie, was she learning it phonetically? Did she actually know English?
No, she did speak English when she came over. I think nearly most of the countries you go to around the world, we're very lucky that most of the countries do speak English. I think English music permeates globally, and people learn English a lot with the help of English music. But no, she did a great job.
The dojo.
The dojo.
The outdoor dojo.
Dante's another non-martial artist. My teacher took a liking to me, really. I got a kick out of this kid. When Julia came over, they sent us to a lot of acting classes together, in fact. And at first, with that Japanese way, she was a little standoffish and in her own way. And so the acting coach gave us a lot of classes where we would have to be actually touching each other in the acting classes to get her more relaxed with me. I mean, she has to play a character that's totally in love with Kenshiro, and so if she still had that feeling of not wanting to touch or be near, it wouldn't have come across. So in the, I think it was 3 weeks before the movie, we got together, we were hanging out a lot, we were going out to lunches, going to acting classes, going to dinner, just to familiar, to get familiar. So
build a relationship up.
Exactly. It wasn't a very hard job for me.
I wonder why.
She was a sweetheart, real sweetheart.
You've got Melvin Van Peebles, I guess, as the voice of experience.
The elder.
The elder, yeah.
A little philosophy.
Such conviction in his voice as well.
Yeah. That's what you get from these older, experienced actors. I mean, that's what they bring to it. That's why you work them. Another really nice guy. We're very fortunate on this movie to have a lot of good characters, because you can work on movies where not everybody gets along, but on this movie there was none of that. It was a very tough shoot. I mean, we were shooting 16, 17-hour days in this kind of, like I say, this very, very hot environment, and I mean, it could have given, it's a perfect time for people to lose tempers, get tired, a lot of fatigue. Everyone was brilliant. Everyone gave 100%.
Here we go with something funny. Malcolm McDowell's changed. Physically.
I like this scene.
This is a good scene. Yeah.
This is great. You walk in, see the location, and there's 3 cars standing upside down.
Yeah. Creative use of vehicles for this movie. And so, okay, do you know if he was on a wire?
No, it's not a wire. It's it's a contraption that kind of looks like a seesaw, and he's sitting on it.
That's very convincing, though.
Yeah.
That's nice.
How long does the water fly there? A day in the life of men? The blink of an eye for the gods.
I like this. I like philosophy.
It's
well written.
Destiny. Kenshiro, my son, we will talk.
Kenshiro's character, he has this destiny that he's to save the world, but he really fights it. All he's interested in is finding Julia, and it's a real battle going on inside of him. To either does he conform to his fate, his destiny, or does he follow his more personal ambition?
It's a familiar story. People accepting the destiny, people accepting the challenge.
If you believe in destiny.
Yeah. There's a bit of a Bruce there.
Well, a lot of people, like myself, believe we create our own destinies. The choices and decisions that you make in life.
You see, this is almost like classic horror.
Well, Tony Randel is from a horror background.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is his background.
You are in default of your destiny.
No, Father. My destiny is hate and revenge.
The choice is not yours to make. When I died, you became the fix.
Great effects on the makeup there.
There's a guy inside that suit. He was actually one of the lighting guys, I believe, or one of the camera guys, one of the grips.
You're telling me Malcolm didn't get into the makeup?
No, he doesn't want to accept his destiny. We did so many takes on this.
There's a bit of a tantrum, man.
My hands were raw at smacking this
bit of a
metal
tantrum
roof.
going on there. This is nice. This is clever. They're cutting in with the sign.
Yeah. I mean, we did a lot of takes on this, and even though we do a lot of conditioning in our training, I was a bit raw after that one.
It is very nice seeing the cars. It gives it that kind of Mad Max post-apocalypse kind
See,
of...
when he gets upset,
the blood.
When the blood runs when he's not following his destiny. When he's choosing not to follow his destiny, the wounds will bleed. It's
funny, the pace picks up here. It kind of becomes more determined. And
this is like the second act. I guess we've established all the characters.
George Chung?
George, I got him on here.
Yeah, man. White Tiger with you as well?
Very good friend of mine. A very good friend. I think he's a very good actor. He's in Ides of March. I got him the main bad guy role in Ides of March. He's took him to Hong Kong when I was working on a movie called Tiger Storm, which actually never got completed.
And White Tiger with you?
Yeah, White Tiger. Got him on White Tiger.
Yeah,
he's a very good friend, a very good man. He's the kind of guy I just like having around. He's very experienced. He's been in the business for many, many, many years. I mean, it's like you can be watching old reruns of Magnum and up pops a young, skinny George. He's just so experienced, and it's, when you're in LA, it's good to have a friend like that you can call upon.
Absolutely, and very well-known face, very well-known actor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is lovely.
My teacher set this up. They wanted a training scene, and my sifu, he built this little thing here. And it's in the style that we do, is Shulan Wonkakien, where there's actually a lot of conditioning for the bones, all parts of the hand and the shins and the forearms. And yeah, he adapted this just on the spot, actually.
And it's nice with the slow motion, but it's like kind of like a frame jump slow motion, so it's more effective, it's more surreal.
Yeah. We shot a lot more, actually, to this scene with stretching and stuff, but it was cut out. I guess they figured it slowed it down too much.
This is nice as well. Conditioning
Basic.
and... It does kind of look like you're going to explode there, though. This stretch...
Yeah, well, whatever.
It's different. I mean, normally you get them between two chairs or something.
Yeah.
So when you're angry, you stretch diagonally, you pick up a rock.
It's funny, you know, Jean-Claude made it Van Damme actually made it famous to do that stretching between the chairs and everything, but in my training when I was young, when I was kickboxing, I was 13, 14 years of age, my coach Mickey Byrne would actually have me doing stretch like that between the benches, and I'd be holding the medicine ball, he'd be throwing the medicine ball at me, he'd be kicking my legs underneath. I mean, we were
So
doing
did he
that.
like you?
All great conditioning training, you know, laying the foundation for the future.
So this is kind of like a kiddie's fairground in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, well, exactly. In a wasteland, there could be anything. There's submarines in
That's right, yeah, submarines. I was going to point it out. I thought, you know, Red
This
October.
Dave
This is
Liu,
nice. Dave Liu, yeah.
another good martial arts guy.
This is a nice little fight, man.
Yeah, it's short and sweet.
Yeah,
You didn't want it to last too long.
it's effective.
But in fact, you know, my teacher, we'd choreographed fights with a lot more opponents. I think there was supposed to be like 6 or 7 guys in this fight. But
Where'd they go?
Tony, the director, didn't want too many big fights, although I think, you know, you established that this guy's a superhero. He should be fighting more than 1 or 2 guys. No, they shouldn't be giving him a hard time. So when he did only get 1 or 2 guys, you can't extend it because you can't have these lower lackeys giving
Suddenly
the
being
lead
able to be,
a hard
yeah.
fight. So that's why we kept them short and sweet on those kind of fights.
It's an effective kind of fight. It's quite direct.
Not too flashy.
No. Oh, in the eyes.
Well, took ages to get that. That's a tight focus. It took a long
Yeah.
time to get that shot.
It's evocative of the old Hong Kong movies as well,
Yeah, I
man.
love it. You expect to hear the 5 Fingers of Death music.
Yes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh.
Take that.
I think you've
And
got... you're not very friendly here, man.
That's the guy that was inside the
In the mummy?
skeleton suit.
Really? Oh, man, that's good. He gets some multiple parts, panning his part. I like those goggles as well. I mean, there's something speed racery about them. He's good, though, isn't he, Dante? He's got a
He
good,
is.
good personality.
He's great for ad-libbing too. Because he's got that rap attitude.
Yeah,
he can just rap. I think this is oh yeah. See, she's only met Kenshiro once and she can't stop thinking about him. You know.
She stopped singing, she's just playing an accordion. Oh, not accordion. What the hell is that? A barrel? I don't know what that is.
It's like the organ grinder.
Organ
It was a little monkey. I expect to see a monkey dancing.
Yep, barbed wire, nice and kind of oppressive.
Razor wire.
You'd think they'd put up some, like, you know, painted banners or something to kind of cheer the place up a little bit, but no, razor wire. Oh,
This
Dante.
is, you know, it's supposed to express the period of time has gone by. Long time he's been following me, and
Finally fallen asleep.
I just ignored him.
Such a pleasant person.
But once again, Kenshiro, he wants to follow his destiny, but
Sees a kid sleeping.
sleeping. He's out. Sleeping.
Sleeping. I thought he just got sort of, you know, tired of following you and go to bed. Oh, this is strange. This is like a rousing war speech by the villains rather than by the good guys. This is kind of odd. Oh, I like the jacket. Yeah.
Like the
I like the jacket. Man. It's a lovely orangey brown thing.
These are not my words!
That's quite a powerful speech.
Yeah.
Reminiscent of Mel Gibson in Braveheart, isn't it?
Reminiscent of something. I don't know. So you got Paolo again.
Yeah.
What is that thing he's sucking? Don't answer that. That's really not a good idea. But they've got some very inventive kind of weaponry made up of like
Well,
anything they could find. You know?
That's the beauty of a futuristic wasteland. I mean, you're not bound by any rules, are you? You can make it whatever you want it to be. Your imagination is the only thing that restricts you.
Oh, this is them basically just
Yeah.
killing innocent civilians.
This is the Southern Cross soldiers attacking Paradise Valley.
Brutal.
It's kind of like when England football go abroad and the fans are on rampage.
And they wonder why they don't want us watching the foreign matches. It's strange, Oh, fire, lovely.
It's amazing seeing this on... we were there when they were doing it. I wasn't working this day, but I actually went by and...
just to see people getting beaten up.
Let's see how they were going to do it. I mean, it's always interesting to go to the set. Just that guy right there is getting dragged through. Actually, that's Rocky. He's the stunt coordinator.
Oh, yes,
and so he set up this whole scene and pretty much directed it.
I wonder what kind of personalities they say, I want to be dragged through a wall.
I know. When do you wake up and say, I want to be a stuntman, I want to get smashed, I want to smash cars and get dragged into walls and jump out of airplanes
and make it. It's very brutal in places, it really is.
Yeah, and some of the distributors had a hard time with the blood and the brutalness.
Sure. Now this is naughty. Yeah, understatement.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah.
That guy's a cop. Rosie's actually an ex-cop. He does a lot of movies. It's another character that you see in a lot of movies.
He's been in a lot of comedies like Naked Gun 33 and...
Big guy, right? He used to be an American football player.
Right. Fire gag.
His knees are all messed up now.
Yeah. Now that's nasty. Clint?
There was actually this scene where I captured Clint, and I think at the end of this scene he's sent back to Shin, and I capture him and I torture him, and I actually use the pressure points to get his body to bend backwards and his legs come up and meet his head, but it was taken out of the movie. It wasn't actually left in there.
There aren't enough torture scenes with Clint Howard in. I really think, Oh.
I love the way they superimpose these characters over the action and stuff.
Layered. And it's kind of rare to see that sort of thing in that time. It happens much easier now, just, to post-production technology and things like that. And
well, I think it's easy to get lost in these kind of action scenes, and you forget about some of the main characters, and why they're doing it, and so it brings it back to the main theme of the movie.
Nice choke with a chain.
Yeah, have it, son.
On the terraces. He deserves it for wearing that shirt. It just doesn't go. Lots of rocks. It's good. Oh, you have pirates in this movie. He's got a big bandana on.
Oh, into the acid rain. Yeah, take that.
Of course, yes. That doesn't always register. It just looks like giving him a dunk. Oh, that's nasty.
Looked like a miss to me.
I don't think I've even noticed that before.
That looked like a miss to me.
She's camera shy. So finally you hear.
It's inside. It's cerebral, mate.
You didn't hear the fire, you didn't hear the beatings, but you hear a little girl.
We have a connection. I healed her, remember? We have a connection.
It makes sense. I think that's lovely. Oh, no. You got to stop that screaming.
Whatever you say.
I have no choice.
What is he eating?
Where do you get the can open?
Very sharp fingernails. Oh, Clint with a gun.
Okay.
Oh dear. Oh,
brutal.
It really is.
Talking about Lynn?
So Lynn was his sister. Why did he just left her? He's gone out.
That's just left his sister. Well, she can see now.
Oh, my sister can see. I'm just going to leave her.
Just gonna leave her.
She can take care of herself.
Leave her to it. Now she's got vision.
I think this is just one of those artsy-fartsy shots. It's just sticking.
It is, but it is. It's very sort of like Soul Asylum rock video. I think they'll just want a bit of Chris. Nice helmet.
Which one's the engineer? Which one? Me.
So how did this how did this actually go theatrical? I mean, I hear there was a premiere in Japan.
Yeah. Well, this was a co-production with America and Japan, Toei, with Japanese producers. And this is huge in Japan. Kenshiro is a big hero. Fist of the North Star, Hokuto no Ken as they call it. It's a huge comic book in Japan. So yeah, we did. We had a theatrical release in Japan, and they took me over to do some promotion. And it was a wonderful experience. It's nice going there and seeing the big marquee with the pictures and all that outside the theaters. And what they do over there is they take the star to the theater for the very first showing on a Saturday morning. And so they showed the movie. They had me come out before the movie and do a little demo and talk to the audience. And then I come back after the movie to do a little talk. I was in the lobby of the theatre, and man, I was mobbed. I had all these Japanese people asking me to sign their shirts and their arms and this and that.
Lots of Japanese girls?
A few.
That must have been terrible, man. How did you deal with it?
It's very flattering, in fact, and I've never had that. None of my moves have been released theatrically in the States. This almost got a theatrical release in the States. Orion were going to take it out theatrically, but apparently they didn't offer enough money for it, so it didn't get the theatrical release. But yeah, it was wonderful being in Japan. There was a lot of press in the newspapers, did a couple of the TV shows over there.
And how did they look at it? Obviously, well, hell, with a Caucasian guy playing what is essentially a Japanese lead.
Well,
How was that
funny.
looked at?
It's funny if you look at a lot of the Japanese anime. I mean, very few of the characters actually look Japanese. I mean, they've got the big eyes, and a lot of them have big blue eyes.
Do you think that's done sort of on purpose, perhaps to just make other people relate to it, other territories,
No,
or is it?
I think it's a colonial. You know, the grass is always greener on the other side. You often find, the Asians like the Western way of life, and Westerners like the Asian way of life.
Okay. So, looking at this movie, I mean, obviously, you must train differently to, like, on set to sort of training away from films when you were training perhaps to fight originally and things like that. How does that work?
Yeah, the training is different. When I was competing kickboxing, it was a pretty strict regimen. I would be up in early mornings running 4 or 5 miles with sprints. Mid-morning I'd get in the gym and I'd be using weights, but not heavy weights, not like what I mentioned earlier we're doing for this movie. It was more to build endurance as well as strengthen your muscles, so a lot of higher reps, lighter weights. And then I'd often eat and take a nap, and then in the evening you do your martial arts training, your kickboxing training, which would be another 2-hour session with bag work and pads and sparring, etc. But then, once I got training for the movies, it's not so much about endurance and being so effective. It's more about how you look, obviously. I would never give up my training in so-called real martial arts, but for the movie, I wanted, obviously, a different look. It's more about your physique looking big and cut, especially in these type of movies where the leads often end up with their shirts off.
Yeah, strange how that happens. Is that a contractual obligation you have? Gary will remove his shirt at least 3 times in this movie.
So diet was a big change for me. Obviously, when you're going for the look, diet is 90% of it. I don't know if a lot of people understand that, but my training never changed. But working with a nutritionist, he completely changed my diet. And
so all junk food now, and
no junk food anymore. So when you're training for a movie, my diet becomes very strict. I don't do as much cardio training, as more weight training, and then obviously you keep up your martial arts training so your technique still looks clean and crisp.
Do you find it is there are people on set that will train with you? Do you find that there's people you can relate to that they will actually sort of go with you?
Often not, no. If I'm shooting in LA, then I try and stick to as much my own regime as possible. But once you're shooting a movie, basically it's about maintenance. You're not going to get in the gym. I like to work a 3-day split, which is 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. But when you're working on a movie, especially when you're the lead, you're in almost every scene every day, so you have very few days off.
In fact, here you are again.
Right.
Here's Gary.
So, obviously your training's going to be slightly different when you're on the set. I don't have all my equipment on the set, obviously, like I have at home. I have my iron bags and I have my mukjong, the wooden training dummy for conditioning. I don't have any of that with me. And you have to be very careful, really. It's funny. It's something I learned on this movie, and it was brought up one time in Hong Kong. We do an awful lot of bone conditioning in the training with my Sifu system. We condition the forearms, we condition the hands and the shins an awful lot by hitting the iron bags and the mukjong and everything. And you have to be very careful when you're doing fight scenes in the movie, because when you're working with actors like Costas and you're doing the choreography, once you start blocking them, you start hurting their arms. And it's obviously not something you do deliberate, but it's something when we were doing the end fight with Costas in this movie, he had to have ice packs on his arms between takes, and his forearms were so bruised up. And it wasn't something that was done intentionally. It's just through the training, obviously.
So there's a question of control then.
Obviously, when you're doing blocks, you got to block.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a block look like a block if you don't actually block their arm. Obviously, with punches and kicks, you're not going to be kicking each other. It's funny, when we work with martial artists in these movies, it's fine. Yes, we'll often smack each other in the body, hit the arms hard, hit the legs hard, because you're working with martial artists. And
you're trained to take it.
Yeah, basically. Obviously, no contact to the face. I mean, no contact to the face.
You must have wanted to.
Right, but when you're working with actors, you try and make as little contact as possible. But to be honest with you, I've had more injuries from doing fight scenes with actors than I've ever had in the ring. I've had actors break my jaw with uppercuts. I've had actors cut my eyes. I've had cracked ribs from actors that it's okay when you're doing the rehearsal and it's you go at half speed and everything's very controlled, but as soon as the director says action, it's almost like adrenaline.
They're trying to kill you.
Bam! And
what is it? Someone says that I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was like Bruce Willis who actually said when he is trying to look like he's killing someone, he says the only way to do that is to actually try to kill them, which makes me wonder how the hell he gets away with it. But
well, internally, obviously, that's what's got to be going through your head. I mean, to be effective and to be realistic when you're playing characters, you have to truly believe that you are the character, and that's got to come inside. That's what's going on internally, and whatever you have internally will manifest itself externally. If you're not going to really truly believing it inside, it's not going to work on the outside, and the camera's going to pick that up.
So basically, it's committing to what you're doing.
100%. It's funny when you're kids and you play cowboys and Indians. You know, you really truly believe you're cowboys and Indians, right?
For me, it was the A team actually, but I really believed I was BA. Bit of a different body type, but you know.
But it's like as you get older, you know, you become more conscious about these kind of things, and it's not so easy to play act.
Oh, now here we go. Flashback.
This is a pivotal scene in the movie. This is one of my very few scenes actually with Julia in the movie.
And there's not so much grime on your face. As there's a little bit of grime. It's like, this is happier times.
Yeah.
Happier times.
It's cut there, but we were actually doing a pushing hand sequence. My seafood was doing a pushing hand sequence there, and we were training together, and it was cut.
Oh, straight into the romance, not so much physical.
Well, this is the key element of the scene: is giving the seeds. The seeds.
Another gift of love, seeds. Beautiful dress.
Yeah, she looks great. I mean, I think she looks great in every scene. She was perfect cast for this movie.
So where do you think Fist of the North Star fits into your career?
I think it's a highlight. I really do. I mean, it came pretty early in my career. I had done City Hunter with Jackie Chan, which was something I just love personally. I'm not going to say the movie itself was a highlight.
that happened while you were doing Nights. Yeah?
Yeah, I was actually shooting that movie Nights with Chris Christopherson, Lance Henriksen.
Albert Pune.
Albert Pune directed it, yeah. I was actually on my way to Utah for that shoot when I was paged at the airport, and I had a message. I called, and I was told, hey, Jackie wants, the producers of Jackie's new movie wants you to go to Hong Kong and be in this movie. And I had a hot flush. I was like, you got to be joking. I mean, I've been watching Jackie. I've been a fan of Jackie since I was a young boy. So
that was kind of like a villain highlight, really, in terms of who you're going to fight as a villain.
The problem is the dates they wanted me, I was still on Nights, and I was still supposed to be out there for another 10 days. So I had to talk to Albert and say, Albert, have you heard of Jackie Chan? He's like, yeah, of course I have. I said, well, I've been offered a part in one of his movies. Go for it, take it. He said, and I said, well, the problem is I'm still supposed to be here. And he said, oh, let me see what I can do. A week later, he came back. He'd rearranged schedules so I could get out and go do City Hunter. So I was flattered. So this came a couple of years after. I mean, it was a great break for me at this time, working with such a talented cast, a good director. And
so here we see Chris Penn without the straps and blubbly makeup.
So this is the flashback still. This is actually leading up to the fight scene. With,
so hang on, I've got this.
Chris.
Costas has got short hair. Your hair never changes. What stylist were you using?
Great grooming. Future grooming. Here we go. Little fight scene with Chris. Chris is a boxer, so wanted to put in some boxing techniques for him.
Nice sadistic little sequence.
Yeah, nice.
How long did it take you to shoot a sequence like this?
This one, we didn't have very long a shoot, to be very honest. I mean, we probably shot this in an hour or less.
There's a lot of precision in it. A lot of precision with the kicks.
It's very different shooting fights in America than in Asia. When we shoot these fights in America, you just do a master shot and they cover it with a couple of cameras, and then they see what they've got in the editing process and try and piece the thing together. Whereas in Hong Kong, every technique, every mini sequence, mini master is shot for a specific angle, often with only one camera, because the directors have already got it edited in their head. They know what they want. Whereas in the West, these directors, they're not action directors. They're not into martial arts. It's not part of their life and their history. So they really, a lot of it is hope.
In fact, Tony Randel was a horror director, wasn't he?
Tony Randel, yes, comes from a horror background, I believe.
Hellraiser 2.
Hellraiser, Amityville.
Ticks with Clint Howard again, surprise. Here we go.
This is a double for Costas. This is Danny. He used to train with us at the Jet Center. Good martial arts guy. Good kickboxer, as it happens.
And your kicks were so powerful it caused a bolt of lightning to appear.
It was a weird thing there. Is the pants were too tight. And to me, I look at that flying psychic and I'm really embarrassed about it because I couldn't get the pants were too tight.
Headbutt.
Nice and brutal.
Yeah, very.
Working with Costas here, not too much martial arts.
He sells it though, and you sell him hitting it.
Yeah, I think often it's the guy getting hit that can make the guy doing the hitting look really good. If I took a bad reaction, it would make his punches and kicks look bad. If you take a good reaction, if you're nice and loose, you take a real good reaction, then it's going to make the guy look more powerful.
Sure.
This is a scene that it had to be in there. I mean, it's critical to this is how he gets his wounds in the shape of the North Star. But a lot of the buyers, I mean, when I spoke to buyers, especially the women, they couldn't watch this scene. They would say it's like a rape. I mean,
it's
penetration,
very
it's like a
yeah.
rape. And they said they just couldn't watch it with the blood and everything.
It's quite a violation. And also, this blood coming from your eyes is just, it's so... Well, it is quite OTT. But even for this... I mean,
but this is comic book. I mean, it is so comic book.
Yeah.
And I've never quite fully recovered, to be honest with you. In fact, I was in prosthetics. I have a prosthetic chest on here, and I was in that chest, and there's tubes going up behind the chest which spurt blood.
So it's all practical. And...
Yeah, and it's really weird when you have to wear those prosthetic chests for hours and hours on end. It's not the most comfortable. But I think it's a great scene. I think it's very effective, to be honest with you.
And it's very graphic, and it really sets up, obviously, the revenge.
I just saw the reaction on our sound recorder as her face, which proves that it's pretty effective. And she sells it here. I mean, this sells the relationship between Kenshiro and Julia.
Music rising.
I think it's a good scene. I really do. I really like this scene. It's one of my favourites. It's not something you can actually put on your demo tape, but I think this was...
Oh, here we go.
This is just something that Costas put in himself, which is a great point. Great
something to remember you by.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, it's symbolic of the flag.
It's the England flag, yeah.
It's flagging Gary Daniels'
the
blood.
St. George's Cross.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, it's very good. She did a great job.
Absolutely.
That movie blood tastes horrible.
Do you know what it's made of? Do you know what is it made of?
Different people make it of different things, but it is so sweet.
I was going to say, it's usually things like chocolate syrup and food colouring and maple syrup.
Horrible.
Stop looking at the past.
Oh, here go your seeds.
Yeah. This is integral here. I mean, once again, one of the seeds gets caught.
Oh, it becomes quite...
left behind.
Yeah, it becomes quite significant in the finale.
Later, exactly. I think it's another good scene between these two. They obviously had a good rapport, good chemistry. I thought they both did a great job.
Absolutely.
Dramatic pause.
I was so wrapped up in what...
There you go.
I'm completely dry. Shots of cracks. So okay, so we were speaking about how the film fits into how your career has progressed. What else do you feel are sort of some high points in what you've done? Are there people you're particularly glad you've worked with for particular reasons?
Oh, yeah, this was a great ensemble cast. So it definitely gave me a lot of confidence working as an actor with these kind of accomplished actors so early in my career. I mean, working with Jackie Chan was kind of a personal thing. Just something I would, I'd love to work with Bruce Lee, but I missed him in his time. So, Jackie Chan was probably the next best thing. This comes along, I get to work with some very respected actors and play a character that I could really get into. But I've been fortunate. I have worked with some very good actors. I've worked with Michael Madsen. I've worked with Gary Busey. I mean, there's been some really good actors in the career that I've worked with. And some lesser-known actors that people wouldn't know their names. But... some really good actors.
Oh, with Jeff Fahey and
worked with Jeff Fahey. Even Tracy Lords, I think people have.
Oh, one of my fan favourites. I like her early work. That's a personal touch.
She's a very professional actress. I tell you, she's
Yes.
very hard work and very, very professional.
And she's managed to make that jump into, as it were, mainstream.
Yeah, she's done very well for herself. She's been working on that TV series up in Canada.
First Wave. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Paolo getting it again.
Now here we see Paolo's transition in his character. You can see him being much more sympathetic.
It's nice when you find some character arcs in this kind of thing, villains changing tacts and,
Yeah, this is a good example of, if you do a good job on a set, if you're cast in a smaller role and you do a good job, you can get expanded and it can really help you. That's a great example.
More singing.
I think she's gone inside of herself. That's what brings peace to her.
There's quite a bit of introspective characterization in this film, and your character keeps a lot of things to himself.
You see this guy Van Vader, right?
Oh, yes.
Very popular wrestler, but this guy was, right before his scenes, he would start eating this like powder that he said pumps him up and gets him all, you know.
Is that legal?
I'm not quite sure what it was. This is a scene I was talking about earlier. I think I really like the way they shot this scene. Yeah, but Van Vader, he was a bit of a character. I mean, there was actually one time he was being interviewed on the set of the movie by one of the TV companies.
Yeah.
And we needed him for a shot. So the second AD, this little guy, has to go over and say, Mr. Vader, excuse me, but we need you for the shot. But Vader was so upset, so pissed off that he'd interrupted his interview, that he grabs the AD and he bends his arm behind his back. And everyone saw it, the director and everybody. And Vader said he was joking, but he really shook up this little second AD. So they were like, okay, we got to get this guy, wrap him up pretty quick.
I thought it was the AD's job to twist people's arms into submission and kind of get them on set on time.
Exactly. Normally it's the AD that everyone gets to hate, but this poor kid, he was really shaken up. I mean, Van Vader's about 400 pounds. This is a guy that can literally pick me up and military press me over his head.
Did you do that often in breaks?
Well, we actually, in the middle of the shoot, we had there's a news show in America called Entertainment Weekly, and they came on the set and they did a really big piece on Fist of the North Star, and yeah, I mean, we had Van Vader do that to me on the set. It just picks me up, and military presses me over his head. So I was weighing almost 200 pounds then, and for him it was like nothing.
So did you have a lot of other publicity? I mean, obviously you did the premiere in Japan. Did it go elsewhere? Did you do other sort of publicity for this in different territories? How were you received in other areas?
I did an awful lot of magazine and TV in America. We had a lot of the E Channel did pieces on us. I probably got more coverage from this movie than most other movies I did, because it's a cross-genre movie. You've got the horror movie fanatics, like if you mentioned, there's some horror scenes.
Yep.
So Tony Randel has a following, so the people that the horror movies that follow Tony Randel's work gave us a lot of publicity, and obviously the martial arts community were interested in it, and the anime, and obviously in Japan we made a lot of coverage in Japan.
Yeah, there's a big draw in the UK, I think, for things like that. Certainly when Akira came out here and that fostered it, and that just seemed to lead on. There was I remember it being released in the UK, and it had a sticker saying first ever live action manga movie. Oh, here a bit of action.
Is that what it said, really?
Yep, kicking into a bit of action.
Vader. You know, it's funny, a lot of producers, they really like to bring in these big wrestlers for these movies because they look very impressive. But I've worked with a couple of them. I worked with one on another movie called Firepower, The Ultimate Warrior.
Jim
Hellwig.
Jim, yeah.
But what you often find is martial artists, we tend to move a lot more fluid and a lot quicker than these really big guys. They might hate to hear me say that, and it's nothing offensive against them, but they are bigger and they're slower, so oftentimes you have to slow down your technique. And
when they display things, it's usually live, so maybe they need to slow these things down so people can see the techniques. And
the technique that we just saw where he straight arms me, that was my double, and he was knocked out. They wanted to put my double in for the simple reason they didn't think Van Vader could control himself.
And look what happened.
He knocked out Dennis, the double for that scene. He actually knocked him out.
Oh,
Sparkle.
Dante got it.
Dante bites the dust.
Wow. If you're going to bite the dust, you should bite it from Chris Penn, I think.
Here he goes, look.
Oh, here we go.
Talk about military pressing.
So that's kind of relaxing between takes, yeah?
That's the kind of thing you would do.
Get hoisted up and throw through a window. That's how we relax.
This is time. It's time Kenshiro faces his destiny. It's kind of a turning point here.
Absolutely.
Plus, he's getting his ass kicked.
And everyone's looking at him. Why weren't they laughing at you? Like, you just got thrown through a window, dude.
Well, they don't really know me at this point. I sneaked in the village, remember, undercover the sewage that shouldn't be there.
So, psyching yourself up.
Building up his chi. The
inner strength.
He's massive. He is a big huge fella. I'm telling you, he's an intimidating guy.
No neck. He appears to have no neck.
We can see here. Boom.
It's interesting how the angles change.
I did this really nice piece all around his body, and half of it is cut out there. And I believe that's one piece they should have kept in one. I went all around his body working him.
So were there many fights abbreviated in this movie? I mean, we talked about that first fight.
The training scene was cut down. This fight,
here goes Van.
Some of that was cut out. I think that fight should have been longer. We established him as this big, powerful... This is funny. This is right. We did this technique here where you see I kick him, and it actually hits his face.
Oh.
We actually cheat that by putting a boot on the hand, and we slapped him in the face. And I told him it was coming. But
you still hit him.
He got really pissed off when we hit him in the face. He stormed off the set.
This is kind of like the first big group fight, really, for you. In terms of like a proper.
You know what?
Scale.
I'm just so look at it. It's so tight again. I'm very disappointed about the way it's shot. This was some great choreo. My Sifa did a great job on the choreography here,
it's good stuff.
And I was really happy with what he did. But unfortunately, the way it's shown, you don't get the full effect of it.
Yeah.
And it's sad because it's such a case that you can have awesome choreography, but if it's not shot and edited the right way.
Exactly. I mean,
then you're not going to get your vision on screen.
Exactly. I mean, your sequence has its own flow, its rhythms, and...
I mean, look at the Hong Kong directors. I mean, they get to choreograph it, they get to shoot it, they pick the lenses, they pick the angles, and they get to edit it. And that is the only way you are going to get the kind of fights on screen that you envision.
In fact, they shoot them with editing in mind, don't they? They actually pre-visualise it, they see how it's going to be.
But on a fight scene like that, I mean, I think we shot that at like 4 o'clock in the morning, that fight scene, and everyone was tired. But it was a good fight scene. I was very happy with it. But then when I saw it cut together, I was like, wow, it was a little disappointing, to be honest with you.
How many cameras do they use?
I can't remember how many we used on this. I think there was 1 or 2.
Like, is it different for the dramatic scenes and the fight scenes? Do they change that?
Sometimes they bring in more for a fight scene and an action scene. I mean, than a dramatic scene. 2 is usually what they use on a dramatic scene. But yeah, I mean, if anyone's disappointed with the fights, I apologise, but it was not my vision.
Disclaimer. Gary says. I find them quite exciting. I mean, the music helps and the effects are good, and you can see what was going on. But I know you're saying about moving in too close for certain sequences. It's okay for, like you say, actors who haven't got the training.
Right.
It sells
you can cover
them.
it up. You can cover it up if somebody doesn't have the training.
Exactly. Even with techniques like the editing.
The beauty of a martial arts technique is from the toe all the way up to the end of the fingertips. It's like dance. When you're shooting somebody dancing, they don't just move a part of their body. It's the whole body working in unison, working in rhythm. And if you got somebody who can do it, then shoot it wide.
Oh, Dante finally.
Chris is funny.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a fight too. I was supposed to have a go at him, and the director's like, "No,
just choke him.
No more.
Just choke him.
No more fighting."
Stop.
Oh,
here we go.
Golden child.
Same effect. I'd never seen that contraption before. It almost looks like a seesaw, and it's what's raising her up. At the other end is weighted, and it raises her up.
Father, revenge is unworthy of you.
Slight sinking thing there, I think.
Oh, really?
The voice and the lips.
Restore balance.
She has a different rhythm.
Yeah.
The past
Her body has a different rhythm.
The future is yours to shape.
You've got a lot of information to take in this movie. You've got a long road to travel, I think. To be convinced into doing what you have to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty selfish, I guess. He just he wants the babe.
He wants the babe. That's all he wants.
He wants to go after Julia.
Beat people up and get the girl.
The North Star flies over Paradise Valley.
He looks great, Chris.
Yeah.
Looks like a little rat running away.
Scurrying off.
Look at that, right into the lens.
Yep.
That's what they call breaking.
That's usually a no-no.
Yep, that's what they call breaking the fourth wall.
Yep.
But in this movie, I think he had each one of us main characters each look into the camera at one time. That was mine. Then there was Chris and Costas, both had theirs too.
Everyone gets their hero shot. Now, how many lights were on that bike, and were they necessary?
That bike could barely move. It only had to drive it like 3 or 4 feet.
Did you have to sort of pedal it in yourself?
Collapsed.
Don't take your eyes off her.
He's got a bit of a rock star thing going on, Costas, in this.
Yeah, he is a rock star.
He's a rock star. Is that a bed? Is it a couch? We don't know.
It's the heroic motorbike shot.
It is, man.
Where does he get that from?
Digs it up. Where if there's cars lying around, there'll be bikes lying around, I guess.
Okay.
You see, I was wondering if they've got a bit of a thing here. You've got this like the furnace room, you've got the cogs, you've got the engines. Again, this whole propaganda imagery of like the industry.
The industrial, yeah. This actually, what you're going to see now, the stuff with Chris and Julia here, was the very first scenes of the movie that was shot.
Oh?
This is the very first days.
It's quite a location. I was thinking this. I was watching it. I mean, it's quite a. You've got the fire going. You've got the. I mean, Who said it was okay for him to take her down there? Take her down to the boiler room. We want to talk to her.
Actually, while they were shooting this, I was outside doing choreography with my Sifu and Costas while they were shooting all of this.
Oh, naughty. But it is quite a standoff between them. This is the first time she seems to actually stand up for herself against the villains. I mean, she's kind of been biding her time.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Chris gets to be a lech here.
Well, I think that's art imitating life. No, I'm just joking.
But
Actually,
quite
Chris had a
thing.
beautiful Asian girlfriend in the show.
Back to the outside world.
Yeah, this is an alleyway. This was the last day of shooting for me, in fact. The
very last
scene
day?
I shot was
And it was
this
rats
one.
everywhere.
You know, it's funny, they actually have a rat wrangler.
A guy who actually... Was it a guy or a girl?
There's a guy who brings the rats to the set, and his job is to control and train them.
Is he popular?
The rat wrangler.
Bring in the rats. Dang. Well, I guess it's better to have someone else do it. Gary, bring the rats in. No.
See, that's a matte.
Is that a matte with a miniature on?
Yeah, well, it's a matte painting. They actually just shoot the alleyway, and then they put the matte painting on the negative.
And it goes together very well.
Technique. Yeah, looks good.
More for me.
Alcoholic lech.
No comment.
Character. For character. But there's clearly some quite nasty little,
That's his
insinuation here, isn't there?
character. That's his character.
Yeah.
And he did a good job with it.
Yeah, I mean, you want to hate him.
It's always fun getting slapped in a movie by a girl.
Oh, yes.
There's no way of getting around the contact on those. You got to take it. I've had it in a few movies.
How many takes?
You hope they get it right the first take. If the director doesn't like you, he's like, technical problem here.
Take 58. Take 58, Gary gets slapped again. Oh, more of the flag. Oh, he looks happy, doesn't he?
We're depicting a wonderful future for flags.
Yes, the future's bright. Where was this actually shot? Is this like a back lot, or is this...
This is all shot in LA. This alleyway is just an alley downtown LA.
Did you keep anything from this movie? Have you got anything from this movie lurking in your personal property?
What do I have? I normally get something from each movie. I didn't get.
Did you keep her? Did you keep?
Great memories.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I did. I mean, you know what? We're talking about promoting this movie earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually went to Sweden. A Swedish company that released it took me to Sweden for 10 days and did a tour of Sweden for 10 days to promote it. And I got a lot of memorabilia from those guys. They gave me a bunch of stuff.
Hotel room, bath soaps, bath soaps and shower gels. And...
You know, it's funny, on a lot of movies you work on, they actually make T-shirts for the movie, right?
All right, cruise shirt.
Cruise shirts, and they're often pretty cool things to get. But I must say that the Fist of the North Star one was probably the worst T-shirt we ever had. It was this
why?
little grey T-shirt with these little yellow stars in the places where the wounds were, and it was...
So they had your wounds.
Weak. It was weak.
Your wounds on a T-shirt. You too could win Gary's injuries.
Yellow stars. No, there was badges made. We actually did an appearance at the LA Comic Book Convention.
Oh, great! Yeah.
Which was very interesting.
Did they screen it there, or did they?
We screened a preview tape. It was long before the editing was actually finished. We screened a preview, and there was hundreds of people there, and then we did a question and answer session.
Good feedback.
Very good feedback. When I'm actually I was signing pictures for people, and that's when you get a lot of... I think the biggest compliment I got on this movie was actually the day we were shooting this fight scene. We had the creators of it on the set, and they said to me, we can't imagine anyone else that could have played Kenshiro, and I thought that was really nice of them.
Now, these guys all come out of nowhere.
I think this is my favourite fight scene, but for the choreography, but... Yeah, you never see my POV. You never see my point of view.
You never see
what Kenshiro sees.
Yeah.
Which I think, if you'd have seen all these guys coming at him, it would have been quite a suspenseful,
I don't know about you,
intimidating scene.
Well, I don't know about you. I'd have gone around the back.
This guy Chad, he's
That's a great flip.
Keanu Reeves' double in Matrix.
It's a great flip.
He's a really good stuntman actor. This is Dennis, the guy that got knocked out by Van Vader.
And this is some weapons work coming in as well. And then you drop them.
Real quick.
It's great.
In fact, to be honest with you, this fight scene was a lot longer. But because they shot it all from the one angle, some of the kicks in that were... Yeah, and it's I think it limits it. It's still my favourite fight scene in the movie. In fact, this was one of the fights that my Sifu and I actually got to go in and re-edit.
There looks like a lot of close contact in it. It looks really... a lot of it looks
most of these
that's
guys,
beautiful.
Most of these guys are martial arts guys. I like to use a lot of guys from Danny Inosano's academy.
Sure.
And that guy I just kicked there was JJ.
That's lovely.
He was...
JJ Perry?
Yeah, he was in the American Taekwondo team in the
Sure,
Olympics.
Mortal Kombat TV show.
Yes.
Things like that.
And there's Chad again, the double for Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. He's been in loads of movies, Chad.
Yeah, he's a very good guy. I've used him in 3 or 4 of my movies just because I know that with a lot of the JKD guys from Dan Inosano's academy, they're very well rounded. I mean, you want to do hand techniques with them, they can do them. You want to do kicking techniques, grappling techniques, weapons, they can handle it.
You're building up quite a pile of bodies there.
Yeah.
Oh, crash zoom.
There you go. Enter the Dragon.
Absolutely. Any more?
Very 70s.
Any more for any more? It's great, but it's strange where they shot it all from one, literally one direction. It's an effective fight, though. It's still an effective fight.
It's a time thing. I mean, when they don't allow enough time to shoot these things, you get limited, you know.
Do you think
that fight was longer? There was a lot more kicks and stuff, and it got cut out.
I mean, how long did you have to shoot something like that? And in terms of do you choreograph it all at the same time?
I think we had half a day for that one. But originally, we were told that whole fight scene was going to be done on a very wide staircase. So actually, my Sifu had choreographed it for us to fight on stairs.
Sort of ascending.
And it was very different. This actually was my very, very first shot of the movie. But anyway, as I was saying, we were told we were shooting on a fight on the stairs, so we choreographed it for that in particular. But then once we got there on the day of the shoot, they told us, "Oh, you're not shooting on the stairs. You're going to be shooting it here in the foyer of this is an old hotel in downtown Los Angeles." And so we had to make that one up on the spot, which is not something that I like to do. I like to be prepared. I like to have stuff choreographed in advance. So
know the location.
Know the location, know what props, know how many guys, exactly. Get it all prepared in advance, especially when you're on a tight schedule. Preparation is the key. As they say, you know, if you fail to prepare, you're prepared to fail. So my teacher actually made all that up right on the spot, and all the stunt guys picked it up right away, and it turned out, like I said, I think to be the best fight in the movie, although I think it could have been better. Yeah.
Did you keep some of the same choreography still?
No, you can't. Fighting on the stairs.
Oh, of course, because you're moving.
Fighting on stairs, literally on stairs, is very different than fighting on flat ground. You got to be able to adapt, and that's one of the wonderful things about my teacher, because he's a very real martial artist. But he knows what looks theatrical, and he knows what makes me look strong. But the brilliant thing is he can adapt just like that.
So we're coming into the final battle.
Yeah, and this was the first. This was a 2 or 3 day shoot, I think, and it was the first stuff I shot. Like I said, this scene between Chris and Julia was the first scene shot of the movie, and then we moved into the action. And I like that. I often like that. For me, you don't get really nervous before a movie, but there's always that, you're working with a lot of new people, you're on a new project, there's that, am I going to do a good job? And I feel very comfortable with my fight scene, so I'm very comfortable to start a movie. I think I'd actually asked Tony early in pre-production if we can start the movie with a fight, it would really settle me in.
Put you at home.
Yeah, and also I find... that the crew, when they see that you can really do this stuff, I don't want to say they admire you, but they really get behind you when they see they get into fights. I guess it's like what's
they appreciate.
They see good fight and then they get into it. But if you start with boring dialogue stuff, it's boring dialogue stuff. Important but boring dialogue stuff.
Do you feel that a fight, like when characters fight, it kind of builds a trust between the actors in terms of the relationship?
Definitely a camaraderie. As long as you don't hurt him.
Or vice versa.
He could hate you.
Or vice versa. But, I mean, in terms of, it builds kind of a relationship between you guys, you've got to trust each other.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know Costas is a big fan of martial arts movies, so he really loved doing these fight scenes.
It's quite intricate. It's actually got some very intricate footwork.
It's got a lot of intricate handwork, but I just think it could have been shot different.
Yeah. There's a lot of interplay here, isn't there?
There they put a sound effect like he hit me and he didn't. It was supposed to be I miss it, dodge. No, but we put some martial arts in there, some wind chime in there. There's some more wild stuff. There's stuff particular to our system. There's kicking techniques from Muay Thai and Taekwondo. It's all mixed in here. We try to really make it eclectic. There you go, yeah, Muay Thai.
There's a lot of sharpness in the kicks and reactions from the side kicks and things like that.
Yeah, I hope people like it. I mean,
slow motion for effect. Build up the atmosphere.
Costas is double.
Was he dubbed a lot?
No, not a lot. Just for the reactions like that. I mean, there was actually a bad thing happened. There's a scene towards the end of this fight where I'm doing this series of round kicking and spinning kicks.
Yeah.
And the camera was actually over the double's shoulder, right over his shoulder, OTS as we call it. And I'm doing these kicks, and the focus puller, who's standing right next to the camera, he thought that the double was getting too close to the camera, so he pushed him forward into my kick, and I broke his nose.
Oh, well, I'm sure he was appreciative of that.
No, I felt awful.
Yeah.
I thought it's the first time it had ever happened.
Yeah.
Now this is interesting. The second sequence of the fight here is where Costas is beating me up.
Sure.
And I don't mean this detrimentally to Costas, but there was absolutely no control. And he was beating the doodah out of me. And like I had all these bruises on my neck and on the back of my back. And later when we shot scenes up that came after this, and the bruises had worn off, they actually had to match them in continuity with makeup.
To make it up.
Put bruises on to match the continuity.
It's a bit of a Clash of the Titans coming here, really, isn't it? I mean, you get a lot of heavy interplay between the two. You get a lot of to and froing, like your equal beating time out of each other.
Well, he's actually beating me mostly here. I mean, as we can see.
And it's matching with Chris and Julia as well.
Yeah, they were all four. They nailed me. I can distinctly remember certain techniques nailing me.
Still today, physical memory.
Yeah, that's weird. You have that sense of memory.
This is so, scary.
I love doing this stuff, though. I mean, when you're doing these kind of movies, you got to accept that you're going to take some bashing, you're going to get hit, and you can't whine about it. It's the nature of the business.
Sure.
And if you're a martial artist, so what? You get hit.
Well, you should be used to it already, I'd have thought.
If you're a good martial artist, you shouldn't be used to getting hit.
You've always got to take a few falls. Oh, here comes the
what did you call it?
Hand.
The ready break?
The ready break effect, yeah. There was commercials, it's a long time ago.
It was funny here, when I did this effect. Once again, it's special effects makeup.
Here we go. Mayhem. Look at that. That's just
fake chest. You can see maybe all these plastic tubes going up. I was in this for 17 hours. I was in that special effects makeup because this was like one of the last shots of the day. That shot of me exploding was done on a completely different week, let alone day, than the actual fight scene.
Match as well.
Yeah.
Oh, but still, somehow you're still living through it.
Yeah, how do you live through that?
You just had your elbows explode. Gary,
he's Kinshiro, the Fist of the North Star.
Oh, the Fist of the North Star.
Okay.
Character.
Don't you ever forget that.
Okay, I shan't forget. I shan't forget.
A lot of people have asked me about a sequel to this movie, and
I heard that it was in development.
Sequels have been written. There's been 3 or 4 of them written. Steve Wang was actually brought in to direct the second one at one point, but it's actually never got off the ground.
I think that'd be amazing. It's the same sort of production team but behind this and Drive that Steve did. And this is sort of where it looks like you guys are both on your last legs, so to speak.
There's a story here where you're going to see his head explode, and we had a very inexperienced stills photographer on the set, this woman, and so she's getting ready to take the stills of Chris's head exploding, but when it actually happened, she jumped, and she went back and hit the camera.
The actual film camera?
Yeah, that was shooting it, and so it messed up the shot completely. And you know how long it takes for him to get in that special effect and get those effects right for the head exploding, so they had to reshoot it, and I think she was canned.
So Costas has lost his glow now. So
here we go, it's time to kick some booty.
Yeah.
There's some okay stuff here. I mean, this is just a chance to showcase a little bit.
So the visa kicks you were talking about earlier with the jumping, spinning kicks and things?
I'll tell you when that's going to happen as it happens.
Jump round. It's funny, with all the weapons lying around, why did you guys not pick those up?
There you go.
Yeah.
Good point. Because we're macho.
Mano a mano. Oh,
here
comes Chris's end.
Yeah, the demise.
He deserves it.
Hey, if you feel that way about Chris, then he did a good job with his character,
Exactly,
right?
yeah,
If you hate him, he did a great job.
But that's the thing about these movies. You need villains to hate, and you need to root for the heroes.
Definitely. They often say that the best actor, the best character... Here we go. This is the series of kicks. And there was some stuff where it was over his shoulder.
It's a lot of
the
tight.
camera
It's
was
very
over his
tight,
shoulder.
isn't it?
Oh. They often say in a movie that the bad guy should be the best actor and be the best character in the movie so that the audience can really hate him. Here we go. Exploding head. He wasn't very happy about having to redo this whole scene.
I believe
But I
you.
can't believe him, because that location where they're in, it's like a boiler room, and it was so hot in there.
Yeah.
And with that on your head, you know, you lose most of your heat through your head, so he was stuck.
Oh,
I love that shot. I love the sound effects.
slow-mo moment. Punch drunk.
We're both pretty messed up here, aren't we?
Yeah. But again, you want to see them go through it. I mean, putting the hero through hell. That's always been, again, a classic martial arts movie trait. Put the hero through hell.
Predictions are true. But there is no sun and cross.
Once again, he's shirtless.
Oh, yes.
Heroes have to be shirtless.
Oh, kick, kick, kick. So your next movie, Shirtless Hero?
I'm getting older.
Shirtless Hero 2.
I think in Retrograde, the movie we just finished, the one with Dolph Lundgren, I think I only had one scene without my shirt. It was quite a change. It's funny, you know, I asked to get my shirtless scenes done out of the way first, so that
You can eat chocolate
so I
and
can
junk
eat,
food.
yeah, forget the diet. Get to the craft services table.
We need reshoots on that, Gary. Can you come back? No, I'm just eating lunch.
There was a big debate here about when I do this final killing blow, whether there should be an effect on his head, like his head exploding or seeing it pop out the back. I was really for it, but they decided against it. I think that's, you know, you've seen Kenshiro popping people's heads here. I mean, and this is the main bad guy, and he's going to finish him. I just felt there should have been an effect.
Well, just bigger explosions. Another bigger explosion.
His ears should have exploded or something. I don't know.
She's alive.
It does make it different now, the way you finish him now. At least it is a different ending.
It's pretty basic. It's a pretty basic karate puncher.
He's getting the last laugh, so he thinks.
Might as well go with a smile on your face. Huh? This is the director loved this shot because there's a shot here. Boom, see the Julia.
Oh, with Julia in the background, yeah, that's very good.
That was the triangle. Costas, Julia, Kenshiro. Kenshiro, my hero, as they would call me. Or the makeup and wardrobe say, Kenshiro, my hero.
Well, if you've got to be greeted some way, I think that's the way to be greeted. In fact, didn't you name one of your kids after?
Yeah, as it happens, I have a son named Kenshiro. He was conceived during the shooting of this movie.
Now, there's warm memories.
Yeah. We were calling him Kenshiro the whole time my wife was pregnant, and when it came to naming him, we hadn't even thought of another name. It's great, that makes him unique. Looks like there's going to be another big fight.
Battered hero.
In fact, I think this is only my second scene in the whole movie with Julia, you know. In an original script, there was a great scene written in the beginning where I was with Kenshiro, we're sleeping, and we get attacked by a band of renegades, and I fight them off, and that was taken out of the final draft.
Nope.
See, now you see my POV. Now you see what he's up against, right? And
Yeah.
I just feel like in that one scene in the foyer before I fight Shin, it would have
Well, just
added...
establish everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've never seen those guys bow down to you.
That's what I know. Hopefully it comes like, what are they down to me for?
Maybe it should have been a surprise. They then attack you. Take you off guard. But no, the music signifies.
Yeah.
But it's great because, like you say, you don't spend that much screen time with her.
Yeah.
But the relationship is built up.
Mm-hmm.
And this pays it off. She's got a bit of grime on her now. She's got a bit of not quite as much as grime as you've got.
Very good actress. I
Yeah.
remember filming this.
So handsome.
Who,
so
her?
much blood. Yeah, her.
She looks great.
Yeah. Very tender moment.
Very gay.
Gay?
Just
That's
joke.
a woman. I know you've got the long hair too. I think that's a woman.
You know, as a martial artist, you're always taught not to show your emotions. You know, when you're fighting, even if you take a smack, you cannot show your emotions. And when you become an actor, you got to change that, break that habit.
Do you find that's
See the bruise?
Yes, yes.
Bruises.
Is this the makeup or for real?
No, that's for the real
for
ones.
real bruises. So the makeup artists get the credit. That's very convincing bruises.
There you go.
But it leads to a brighter future, doesn't it? You've got the lights there.
There you
No
go.
smoke.
Yeah, no smoke.
No smoke. Just people bowing down to you.
No, that is an adjustment as an actor.
Yeah.
You got to really change that persona. that Shin gets the final shot of the movie.
I was going to say, there's a statue of Shin made of chocolate, from what I can tell.
They made that in
Finishing
just a few days. It was absolutely
Really?
wonderful, yeah.
It's amazing. So, what, fade to black?
Let's hope they enjoyed the movie. As much as I enjoyed making it.
How would you describe your experience of making this movie? Because obviously it takes up a certain amount of your life.
Yeah, it does, and every movie you make is a very different experience. And as I said earlier, everyone on this cast, crew, it was great. Working with my teacher, my Sifu, was a great experience. Yeah, everyone was really good.
Quite a cast.
it is. It's a big part of your life when you accept a movie. Rocky Capella.
Rocky Capella. It's a great name. Yeah, what else could he have been but a stunt coordinator? For real. What could else he have been?
Each movie
Okay.
takes up a big part of your life, and you devote a lot to it.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
Sifu?
Yeah, I'd like to dedicate this movie to him. He's the true fist of the North Star. He's an amazing man. He really is. I mean, amazing martial artist, an amazing man. He's taught me a lot in my life, been a very big part of my life.
He's worked on other movies with you as well?
He just came in and did some work on Riot. He actually helped me on a picture I did with Chad McQueen called Firepower. Yeah, he wasn't actually hired to. He just came in and did it for free just to help me out.
That's great, though. It shows you can rely
Yeah,
on him.
there's no one else I'd rather have in my corner than Sifu. He sees things that a lot of other people won't see if my technique's really bad. You know, sometimes a director who's not a martial artist, they'll look at it and go, yeah, great take.
But they don't know what
great
to look
take.
for.
But exactly, they don't know what to look for. And so, you know, Winston will come in and say, that sucked, I want you to do it again. So,
But do you think it's a rarity that he's a Sifu, but he knows the difference between like the real life application and the film application? Because of course, things that look great in real life or look effective in real life don't always look effective for screen.
well, there's always a big question about realistic fight scenes. Is there really such a thing as a realistic fight scene? Really, there isn't.
Yeah.
For-
you want
I
it to be
mean-
entertaining.
Well, a fight scene in real life is unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, all movies are choreographed, so you know exactly what's going to happen. To me,
Sure.
there's no such thing as a realistic fight scene.
Sure.
Or you could take somebody who studied Aikido all his life, and what's realistic to him is not the same as what's realistic to someone who maybe boxed all of his life. Because you're trained in something very different, they're going to react to a real-life situation very differently. So what is a realistic fight? In a movie, there's no such thing. I believe there's absolutely no such thing.
So it should be as entertaining and
You do it
as-
entertaining, yeah. It's got to fit the characters, it's got to fit the movie, you know, and it's not real. It's like doing demonstrations, you know, you can see people, you know, I often hear regular people say, oh, this guy must be a really good martial artist, or a really good fighter, just because he does a good demo or just because he does a good performance in a movie. They have nothing, demonstrations and movies have nothing to do with real life fighting whatsoever. So don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. If you see somebody fight, and they did good, then you can say they're a good fighter. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, we appear to be coming to the very end of this experience on DVD.
No, that was just the prologue the movie's about. So.
This is the opening of the movie. Jolt Cola,
Hey, thanks
Many
to you,
happy
Ross, for coming in, and thanks to Brian and Mark for all your help here.
thanks for having me, and we hope you enjoyed this viewing of Fist of the North Star, as I've heard said on many a commentary.
Really? I've never heard a commentary before.
Right, they always say,
And
thank
I've
you
never
very
done
much,
one.
and we look forward to seeing you again.
This brought back a lot of memories. I haven't watched this for a long time. We made it like 9 years ago. It brought back a lot of memories. Good ones.